As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road to life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Championship so close you can taste it. Oliver Askew has won the Freedom 100. Stingray Rob, side by side. And your new champion, Kirkwood Rasmussen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Road to Indy TV Live on Belle Isle. I'm your host, Parker Thompson, and I'm here with Series Development Director Rob Howden. Rob, crazy racing yesterday on the streets of Detroit. Let's take us through not only the post-race of Race 1, but let's get into qualifying for Race 2 this morning.
What I liked about the race yesterday, I think, was the fact we saw the drivers really go their longest stint of the entire weekend, right? And obviously, through practice and through qualifying, you're doing, 7, 8, 9, 10 lap stints, a full run all the way through the 25-lapper. So I wanted to see how the guys were going to handle things later on in the race, and they actually did pretty well. The guys were able to hold on. And I know you probably talked to a number of them. This track is bumpy, it's slippery, but they're loving it.
Well, I think it's fair to say this is probably, apart from the ovals, one of the most physical tracks for them this year. I mean, I've had multiple drivers that I've spoken with, a few of my friends in the field say that they were tattered after the race. It wasn't just the physical,
Yeah.
holding on, but it was actually the fact that their knees were busted up, hitting the cockpit, their elbows were busted up. So a real raw racetrack here in Detroit.
Well, if you guys obviously watch the race, you can see the cars bounce, almost porpoising back and forth on the bumps. And I actually asked Linus Lundqvist about that in the press conference afterwards, and I said, "Is it as bad as it looks?" He said, "It's actually worse. Like literally, when you're looking at the data with the engineers, you're trying to tell them it's bumpier than it looks. I'm actually bouncing around more than I even could see in the onboard. So it's a physical racetrack. Although I think it was Linus that told me this. No, it was actually Toby Sowery, one of the favorite tracks he's ever driven on. Loves it here.
Well, and I've heard a lot of that from the drivers. They say it's very flowy,
Yeah.
which it's funny. You mix flow with all the bumps. You wouldn't think that.
Sounds like a supercross track.
It does sound like a supercross track, and watching it from the outside, it looks like a supercross track.
I think obviously the big story was Kyle Kirkwood really jamming himself back into the championship discussion. He needed a win here. Talked a little bit during our press conference and in other interviews about the fact that he was kind of behind. They had a couple of rough runs at Barber and the Indy GP weekend. Of course, he had that victory at St. Petersburg. HMD's been the team to battle with, and I think for him to come here, put that race win in, a good confidence booster for him.
It was a good confidence booster for him. I think qualifying 1 was probably the best confidence booster.
No doubt, yeah.
I felt like Linus did a very good job of challenging him yesterday, and I think Kirkwood knew that too. At the end there, it was,
it closed up.
It did close up, and if it wasn't for Belle Isle being so hard to pass on, I think he would have had a little bit more trouble with Linus.
And Linus did say that he was running out of the car a little bit at the end, was kind of tossing it around. You could see how he was able to pull away as well from Toby Sowery. Toby was then getting chased a bit from behind as well. All in all, just overall, I think to see the drivers we had come in again, 3 different drivers on the podium, 3 different countries, 3 different teams, which shows the parity in the series, which I really like to see.
Yeah, and throw that into one of the most difficult street courses that you could come up with.
Yeah.
I think when we talk push to pass, that's been a focus this weekend. And drivers are struggling with it.
Yeah.
And this is something I didn't know, but when you press that button, for 15 seconds, you have an extra 50 horsepower. You can't take it off.
It's the full. Oh, I
It
didn't know
is
that
for
either.
the full 15 seconds.
All right.
And with Belle Isle, yes, they have some long straightaways here, but the straightaways have bumps on them. And not only do the straightaways have bumps on them, but a lot of the times, you look at the run out of turn 2 and into turn 3, it's a pretty short. That's
It's not 15 seconds.
It's not 15 seconds long.
Yeah, interesting.
So now you're trying to prep the button going through turn 2, which is arguably the bumpiest.
True.
The bumpiest corner
Off
here.
camber, yeah.
Off camber, and then
Yeah.
you can't really see it on TV, but there's a bridge over a little canal going through turn 2 that the drivers are jumping over. And you combine that all with trying to push a push-to-pass button to get a run, and
Yeah.
I think that's why we saw the field kind of be single file for a lot of the race until the tire deck came. You watch the IndyCar race, and it was actually really exciting.
True. Do you think that the guys are going to be able to adjust that with that going into this next race here?
It's funny. A lot of the guys – so one cool thing about AER, which is the engines and the software that goes behind these Indy Lights cars, it extends the rev limit when you push that button. But drivers I've talked to are still hitting the rev limiter, going over the bumps with the push-to-pass.
Wow, okay, yeah.
So you combine all this, and I'm not sure there's much they can actually do besides just making sure they get a good run, and then hopefully the car in front of them isn't using push-to-pass.
Well, and then if we're talking about the championship battle, we saw Kyle Kirkwood get the win yesterday. He'll start 3rd today. If it's a tough place to pass, we'll see what happens. I didn't get a chance because I actually wasn't down on pit lane as I normally am during the qualifying sessions. I know that I mentioned Kyle, but also Linus Lundqvist, they only went to 1 set of fresh tires in that first session. I wasn't there to see how many other guys that had done it. We'll see who comes out with fresh Coopers for this morning's race.
It's going to be really interesting, Rob. And then another thing that, talking with Kyle, he's a very cool, composed kid from Florida.
Yeah.
His worst days are him surfing and fishing.
True enough.
He was angry after qualifying 2. With the
Why?
red flag that came out
yes.
with
Yeah.
2 minutes to go, he only got 1 lap on his new tires, and he was I haven't seen him that sure for pole in a long time. So
Wow.
he's got the pace. It's going to be interesting to see how he takes qualifying 3rd.
Well, and let's just say this, right? Because for the 7th race in a row, the pole sitter has won. And a track like this, and you're trying to win a championship, if you lost the pole, obviously Devlin DiFrancesco got into the wall late in that session. Like you said, a lot of guys were on flyers. Everybody tells you they're on a flyer every time there's a red flag, right? I was P1 for sure.
Well, the only thing I'll say is when Kyle Kirkwood tells me he's on a flyer, I usually
believe him?
I've raced against him for a long enough time. He usually doesn't try and lead me astray.
USF 2000 championship, Indy Pro 2000 championship, all title wins. So, yeah, you got to give the guy a little benefit of the doubt.
And honestly, because trust me, there's been plenty of champions I've dealt with that would say I was on a flyer.
True.
But Kyle's just one of those guys where straight shooter.
Well, and that's the tough deal, right? When that red flag came out, so many guys were still, like you said, had not got to the quick time. We still had lots of time left in the session. That's going to change things. It's an all HMD and Global Racing Group front row. Linus Lundqvist will be on the pole again for, I think, the third time this year, I believe, for him. David Malukas trying to rebound from the issues that happened in the first practice session when he wrecked that car. Only got fifth yesterday for qualifying for race number 1. Race 2, he'll start second place. The all HMD Global Racing Group front row. What's it going to be like coming through 1, 2, and 3 here?
So yesterday I thought it was going to be a lot crazier than it was.
I did too, yeah.
And I don't know if you guys saw in the race, a shout out to Benjamin Peterson.
Ooh.
Trying to go around the outside of Robert McGinnis in turn 1 and hanging on to it, cowboying it through turn 1 and then almost cutting the grass in turn 2.
Reaching way back to that Dirtfish rally experience, right?
Yeah.
Man, that was crazy. I thought he was in the wall for sure.
I thought he had the pass, then I thought he was in the wall, and then I'm like, wow, he's still side by side with him in turn 2. So
and the feedback on that, and take that into this race when you're watching it, be ready for it. IndyCar, of course, just finishing their qualifying session. A lot of rubber, a lot of marbles outside the line. That's what Benjamin said to me. He said that once I got out there, I didn't realize. He said, when I got going again, when I got dialed in, I thought there was something wrong with the car.
Yeah.
Because I literally thought the front wing had got ripped off. It was so bad. He picked up so much of the rubber on his tires, it took him a full lap to get back. And all of a sudden the car was back as soon as he cleaned the tires off. But he goes, for that first lap when I went off, I felt like I'd lost the front wing.
Well, and on that note, I have to say to the Indy Lights drivers, they did an awesome job yesterday.
Sure.
I was expecting a lot more mistakes.
Yeah.
You come to a track like this, like Rob has already touched on, you're only doing 5 laps in practice and qualifying at a time. Now you're just expected to go do 25 as fast as you can. Nobody really made any notable mistakes.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah.
You know, I thought there was going to be at least one restart.
I
if not 2.
I did love that run, though, by Pedersen to show what he's got. Really aggressive. The only guy really went at it. Tried it in a couple of different places as well. Tried actually, after that spin, or after that run to the outside, almost spun it in turn number 2 when he got to the end of the straightaway. Had it cranked all sideways coming out of that corner. Not surprising with all the buildup he had on the tires.
Yeah. Well, we're very excited for Race 2 in Indy Lights. I think we need to give a shout-out, though, to Oliver Askew.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit about it. Obviously, it's good to see that Felix is okay. Felix Rosenquist, who was in an accident yesterday in the number 7 Aero machine, he's okay. Oliver gets the call last night, not expecting. He's here coaching an Indy Lights team with Andretti, not expecting to be in the car, and he's just expected to suit up, boot up.
Never been here before. His first time on, no practice whatsoever. First time, of course, in this car at Detroit. It's in qualifying. It's a couple seconds back. But again, we talked about the fact it was kind of plug and play, right? Because that's the team he was with last year, same team engineer, the same car he was with last year. So, we were surprised, I think, by the call after he lost the ride last year, but really an easy selection to make it seamless him coming in here.
100%. And it's also very nice to see the safety of these Dallara race cars.
No doubt about that with that hit, yeah.
Has it come out officially that it was a throttle that stuck yesterday?
Actually, I don't think so. I think that they came out officially saying it was not driver error, and they don't think that it was electronic or an engine error either. Again, they'll figure out what it is. It seems to me like they just covered all the bases in one
no blame
tweet.
to anybody. But I have to say, visually, he got to the middle of the corner, and he did not want that much speed.
Yeah,
you
agreed.
could see in his wheel, he let go right away. He knew that it was I don't think that was driver error. He miscalculated that by 30 mile an hour.
That's it, yeah.
So,
but bottom line is this. Of course, Road to Indy graduate Felix Rosenquist, a winner when he was with Bilardi Auto Racing with us. He gets replaced by our 2019 Indy Lights champion. We want to send our best wishes out to Felix, and hopefully he's okay. And, again, best of luck to Oliver today as he goes racing in IndyCar.
Great to see the safety of these cars and the Halo introduction here in IndyCar, the Halo-type device. Let's throw it to a segment to teach you a little bit more about these IL-15 race cars. We're here in the Indy Lights paddock to kick off our first segment of Talkin' Tech with Thompson for 2021. One of the major differences for the IL-15 is the addition of the Halo-type device for 2021. Let's go see if we can find some drivers and engineers to give us a little inside scoop. I'm here with reigning 2019 Indy Pro 2000 champion Kyle Kirkwood to run us through what it's like to drive with this on the car. Kyle, what, first off, visually, is different about this Halo-type device?
I'm a huge fan of the Halo-type device. I've driven the F3 and the Formula E with Halos previously, so I've actually got a little bit of experience with it. Compared to the CFE, it's honestly the same. It's the same range of vision that you're looking at kind of right there, and you look around it. It's like putting your finger in front of your face. Your finger turns into 2 when you're looking off in the distance. That's the way I look at it. So you get in the car and you kind of forget about it. But when you first get in it, it's kind of like a sense of safety when you have that around you, and you honestly feel way safe with the car.
So we've got the driver's perspective, but that's only one part of what makes a championship run. Now we need an engineer's perspective. I'm here with Yancey Diotilevi. Yancey, you've been a championship-winning engineer in many different categories. Let's talk about not just the weight, let's talk about, obviously, the weight is up a lot higher. It's changing your center of gravity. What has that done at all, if anything?
Weight-wise, it didn't add too much weight, so it's not as much of an impact as I guess the IndyCar would have been, where the IndyCar added 60 pounds. This only added about 22 pounds. So the drivers didn't really even know that it was there, to be honest, on the first few runs that we ran. Setup-wise, we were able to run here competitive times, and yeah, our setup really didn't change all that much for it. So
Yancey, thank you very much for your time.
thank you.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road to life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
For rounds 7 and 8 of the top rung of the road to Indy, our Indy Lights drivers get to roar through Motor City for the first time since 2012. You could not write a better storyline than having America's next up-and-coming talent race at the birthplace of the American automobile industry, with General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler all calling Detroit home. As Henry Ford put it best, racing began 5 minutes after the second car was built. The Detroit Grand Prix takes place on a 2.3-mile, 14-turn temporary circuit on Belle Isle. Our Canadian fans are just a stone's throw away across the river in Windsor, Ontario. Just like the entire Indy Lights field, I have never put wheels on the streets of Detroit. So, here's the takeaway and what I'm hearing from most of the drivers here in Detroit. This place has the bumps of Sebring mixed with the tight and technical aspects of the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, which will surely make for one of the most exciting races on the Road to Indy calendar. The Indy Lights driver that adapts to all of that the best this weekend is the one at the end of the race that gets to take a swim in that fountain here on Belle Isle. Let's get ready for the duel in Detroit. We are here for a driver profile with one of the most anticipated drivers in Indy Lights, Alex Peroni from FIA F3. Alex, it's great to have you here in the U.S. First off, let's talk about your move. Originally from Australia, now you've moved to the U.S. Where?
Yeah, no, it's cool to be here. Loving the US so far. So I've moved near Carlin, where Carlin is in Florida, at Delray Beach. So getting used to the climate, hot all the time. I mean, it's already in the 30s and it's not even summer, so I'm a bit worried, but nah, so far so good.
So is this your first time racing then in America?
Yeah, first time even being in America as well. So it was a bit of a culture shock the first couple of weeks, but yeah, as I said, I'm loving it. The people really cool. The car's awesome to drive. The tracks here are insane, especially Barber. So yeah, it's cool.
Awesome. Well, for those of you at home, he's 21 years old, living the dream, obviously being an Aussie. I'm sure the accent helps on the Florida beaches. What are you most looking forward to over here racing in the U.S.?
I'm not sure. I mean, there's so many new things. There's so many new things to get used to, so many new things to try. And I think, as I said before, the tracks most likely, like Barber's just amazing. You know, I'm really keen for the street circuits. And I think the coolest thing is there's a big variety in tracks here. You know, Europe, they're all a bit similar in ways. You know, they're all very flat, same tarmac, same curves. But here you got, you know, places like Detroit, which is so bumpy. And then you got like Indy GP and then Mid-Ohio. So I'm really keen to try all the tracks out for sure.
Awesome. And goal for 2021?
Goal is just to learn as much as possible and just do the best I can. I mean, like everyone, the aim is to win. You know, you got to be in it to win it. I mean, that's why we're all competing. If you're not there to win, what's the point? But, you know, we know there's a lot to learn, a lot of new things to do. So we'll just do our best and see where we end up.
It was great chatting to one of the friendliest guys on the Road to Indy paddock. Alex, I wish you all the success this weekend.
Thanks, Parker. Thanks for having me.
Look up a car virtually and talk live with a dealer. So, once again, that's autotrader.com. Let's go to Rob, and he's got the starting lineup here for the upcoming Indy Lights race.
Hey guys, how is everyone here today? Welcome to another fantastic day of action here at the Detroit Grand Prix. What you're going to see right now is the very top rung of the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. It's the Indy Lights Series. These drivers just one step away from the NTT IndyCar Series. You're going to see drivers, of course, later today like Rinus VeeKay and Colton Herta, guys that have worked their way up through the ranks. We have our 2019 Indy Lights champion Oliver Askew back on the grid with Arrow McLaren SP today as well. All 13 of the drivers behind me right now hoping to follow in their footsteps. Let's have a look at the grid as 13 drivers getting set to go for today's Indy Lights Grand Prix of Detroit presented by Cooper Tires. Starting in the 13th position, rookie driver out of Ontario, Canada for Prix Racing, it's Antonio Cerravalli in the number 11. Row number 6 on the outside from Louisiana for Carlin Racing in the number 7 machine. Another one of our rookies here this year, Christian Bogle, starting in 12th. Alongside Christian from Payette, Idaho, last year's Indy Pro 2000 champion, the second rung of the Road to Indy, bringing that scholarship money to run with Juncos Racing this year. Stingray Rob, the young American, the rookie in the number 2, starting in 11th. Moving to row number 5 on the outside, born in St. Petersburg, Russia, but now living in Los Angeles, California. A driver who has worked his way through the entire Road to Indy, USF 2000, Indy Pro 2000, and now a rookie here in Indy Lights. Nikita Lastishkin in the number 59 for HMD Motorsports will start in the 10th position. On the inside of row number 5, another one of our Canadian drivers, Devlin DiFrancesco in the number 17 for Andretti Autosport, second last year in the Indy Pro 2000 Championship, a rookie this year in Indy Lights. He'll start in the 9th position. Moving up now to row number 4 on the outside, the Australian driver, 10th last year in the FIA Formula 3 Championship. Again, out of Australia for Carlin Racing in the Blundstone-sponsored number 5, Alex Peroni, the rookie, starting in 8th. Driver starting in the 7th position put on a show yesterday. Tried to move on the outside of turn number 1, not something you usually see. Didn't quite get it to stick, but had it all up and sideways. Tremendous driver and car control. Benjamin Pedersen for HMD Motorsports with Global Racing Group in the number 24, the rookie starting in 7th. Row number 3, we'll see one of our drivers from the podium starting on the outside from Cambridge, England. It's Toby Sowery in the 51 for Juncos Racing. A strong run to 3rd yesterday. 3 straight podium finishes looking for that first win of the 2021 season. Toby Sowery in the 51 starting in 6th. Inside of that row, a driver we've seen with a couple of wins in Indy Pro 2000, his freshman season here at Indy Lights from Singapore in the Denjet Dallara IL-15 for Andretti Autosport, the rookie Daniel Frost in the 68 starting 5th. Up now to row number 2 on the outside, a winner 2 years ago at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course, running for Andretti Autosport out of Mount Kisco, New York. The number 27 starting 4th, that's Robert McGinnis. I like to hear the cheers of the McGinnis crowd out there in the stands. That's awesome. Driver starting in 3rd, the winner from yesterday, his 2nd win on the season out of Jupiter, Florida, the 28, the American for Andretti Autosport starting 3rd, Kyle Kirkwood. 13 drivers in the field, 2 on the front row. Off pole out of Chicago, Illinois. Point leader coming into the weekend. He had some issues, got into the wall in practice, qualified 5th still for race number 1. He'll be 2nd on the outside of the front row for race number 2. The number 79, David Malukas for HMD Motorsports starting in 2nd. But the driver they're going to be chasing into turn 1, 2, and 3, coming out of a big start to the season with a couple of race wins out of Sweden for HMD Motorsports with Global Racing Group. Your pole sitter, the rookie, number 26, Linus Lundqvist. It'll be Lundqvist and Malukas on row 1, Kirkwood and McGinnis on row 2, Frost and Sowery, row number 3, Pedersen and Peroni, row number 4, DiFrancesco and Lastushkin, row 5, Rob and Bogle, row 6, and Cerravalli on row number 7. Less than a minute before we fire up down here on pit lane. And again, all these drivers chasing the $1.25 million scholarship, which will send them to at least 3 races next year in the NTT IndyCar Series, including the Indianapolis 500. Part of the scholarship program, unparalleled with the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. And as you can see later on today in IndyCar, we have been developing stars for the last 10 years. Again, folks, getting set to go down here on pit lane right now as we have the command to start. One of our contest winners from a local radio station here in Detroit, WRIF, to give the command, getting set to go, it is Walter Woods.
Road to Indy. Drivers, start your engines.
And with that, engines firing up. We are getting set to go. And for those of you listening internationally and watching on The Races YouTube channel, we'll send it back to Nick Yeoman from the IndyCar Radio Network.
Here is a look at the starting lineup for race number 2. It'll be Linus Lundqvist on the pole alongside points leader David Malukas. In row 2, a pair of Andretti Autosport teammates, Kyle Kirkwood, yesterday's winner, alongside Robert McGinnis. Another Andretti Autosport driver starts in 5th. That is Daniel Frost from the Singapore, alongside Toby Sowery, who was on the podium yesterday. In row 4, Benjamin Pedersen, who was a lot of fun to watch, try to make moves throughout the field. He'll start alongside the Carlin Racing driver Alex Peroni from Australia. In row number 5, it's Devlin DiFrancesco and Nikita Lashishkin. Row 12, Stingray Rob and Christian Bogle, and it'll be Antonio Cerravalli starting shotgun 13th on the field. Got a couple good turn announcers out on the course to help call the action here at Belle Isle. They'll call turn 6 and the inner loop of 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. First, we check in. Good morning to Jake Query.
Good morning to you, Nick. It's great to be here in Belle Isle for this day number 2 of racing. But it's a little bit different than day 1 because yesterday was indeed hot. Today, just a little bit cooler and slightly overcast. We don't anticipate that any sort of weather will come into play over the course of today. Just green flag racing, hopefully, throughout. This field will make its way in to turn number 5, which is a left-handed turn, and as they anticipate that turn is right when they come into my view. But that left-handed turn can cause a little bit of a balance issue because the road or the street here in Belle Isle crowns just a little bit. So you've got to be careful when you make that left-hander. Then it's a short area setting up for turn number 6, which kind of naturally sets you up for the right-handed turn, but it is a very tight right-handed turn. That is turn number 6. Shortly after they make that turn, they go underneath the Pure Michigan Bridge. That is where they leave my view, but it is not long after that they then take a long straightaway. When they do so, they come into the view of Michael Young.
Thank you, Jake Query, and good morning to you. They'll come underneath the Corvette Bridge, and they will set up for turn number 7 full speed, and they'll woe those cars down. The right-hander into turn number 7 has a very high curb on the inside of the track. The front right tires will actually come off of the racing surface as they make their way through turn number 7. Then they'll go up a gear or two to make up the way into turn number 8. Is the left-hander. It's a slower turn when the drivers go through turn number 8 as the field starts to make their way through right now. Turn number 8 is a left-hander, and then they'll start to get back up to speed through turn number 9. A quick kink into turn number 10. That's a slight left-hander as well, and then they'll set up for that hard right-hander, which is turn number 11. A very important part of the course. You can make up or lose ground here in this inner loop. It's going to be interesting to see how these drivers manipulate that today. Looking forward to a great race today, Nick Yeoman. And again, a beautiful day, not, as Jake Query said, not nearly as hot as yesterday, so hopefully beneficial to these drivers.
Yeah, and certainly for you guys as well, out in the elements, as well as our pit reporters. Good to hear weather a little bit nicer today in Detroit. That is Jake Query and Michael Young, who are going to help call the action. Field about to get the 1-to-go signal, so plenty of time to check in with our 2 pit reporters who will be monitoring the action from pit lane. We always hope that they're not very busy and that the racing is clean on the racetrack, but just in case, that's why they are there. Rob Howden, let's check in with you first. A driver or a storyline that you're watching as we're set to go racing here in Detroit.
Yeah, Nick, great to be here. And again, exactly right. Much more comfortable down here on pit lane than it was yesterday. 2 guys I'm watching here right now because I've got different kind of stories for the weekend. You got Kyle Kirkwood, who won yesterday. Believes he's got a car that's able to pull away early in the race, but he's starting P3. It's going to be a bit different for Kyle. He's going to have to get a good jump and quickly get on it. Remember, push to pass does not work for the opening lap. He'll have to wait to lap number 2. We'll see if he can go forward. For me, though, the other cool story is the black and white of David Malukas. 4 laps into qualifier practice, the first practice, he clouts the wall. Major damage. Team able to get him back out onto the racetrack, but only got 9 laps in qualifying. He's behind in terms of overall laps on the weekend, but he'll start on the outside of the front row, Nick, here. Maybe Malukas able to go from really the 0 to the hero by the end of the weekend here in Detroit.
No doubt about it. And Joel Sebastianelli, you're no stranger to the Indy Lights series, a driver or a storyline you're keeping an eye on today.
Thank you, Nick. It's good to be back. You guys have touched on our 3 winners in this series, David Malukas, Lundqvist, and Kirkwood. This series has been dominated in a major way by Global Racing Group, HMD Motorsports, and Andretti Autosport. So who else could break through today? Well, what about Toby Sowery? 3 straight podium finishes, 3rd and 2nd at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and a 3rd yesterday here at Belle Isle. He thinks it could be coming. He is encouraged by what he's seen. That start is going to be oh so important, but he says it's got to be coming. So could this be the day? We're about to find out.
Toby Sowery, 41 points back of the championship in 4th. No doubt that he looks like solidly the 4th best driver in this championship, but as Joel talked about, on a nice little string of podium finishes, and really needs to start finding his way to the top step of the podium if he wants to challenge Malukas, Lundqvist, and Kirkwood. But anyone that's been around the Light Series the last couple years knows that Toby Sowery is uber talented. We'll see what he can do today coming from mid-pack. The field got to stack up for the final couple right-hand turns in the familiar rows of 2. Yesterday's start actually called off when the back of the field trailed off a little too much for the starters' liking, but it is Lundqvist and Malukas, 1 and 2 in the points. Everybody starts to stack up. The alignment looks really good. Linus Lundqvist from Sweden, David Malukas from Chicago, then it's Kyle Kirkwood from Florida. They'll all accelerate. The green flag is out. A great jump for Lundqvist, and Kirkwood's going to immediately take the 2nd spot. He gets the run underneath David Malukas. He'll blitz his way to the 2nd spot, but it's Linus Lundqvist who leads him out of turn number 2. What can Kirkwood do with Lundqvist? Can he run him down? Linus's jump a little too much as they make their way to turn 3 for the first time. Lundquist with the advantage. Then it's Kirkwood. The Andretti Autosport teammates going side by side. Daniel Frost is going to pick up the 4th position, and then it looks like Toby Sowery is going to grab 5th. Leader, though, already into turn number 5 for the first time today.
And when they come into turn number 5 and 6, it is Lundquist with Kirkwood right behind him, literally right on the rear wing, then about 3 car lengths back before you get to Malukas. The field is safely now through turn number 6. Michael Young coming into your view in turn number 8.
Lots of shuffling in the first opening turns now. Linus Lundquist with a car length advantage over Kyle Kirkwood. Malukas about 6 car lengths behind him. Then it's machine of Daniel Frost. But that is going to be the battle for the lead. Linus Lundquist makes his way through turn number 10, sets up for 11, and Kyle Kirkwood already trying to make the move.
Yeah, Kirkwood is searching, no doubt about it. He knows that you really can't wait to make the move mid to late race. He's going to try to jump to the lead here on the opening lap, all over the rear wing of Linus Lundquist. Lundquist in the orange and black car. It's the blue and silver of Kyle Kirkwood. David Malukas not really letting him get away either. He's about 5 or 6 car lengths back, but it is Linus Lundquist who leads lap number 1 here in Detroit, and the front 3 have checked out on 4th place running Daniel Frost and 5th place running Toby Sowery here on this opening lap. Here come the leaders down to turn number 3 on lap number 2. Lundquist has done a pretty nice job. He's going to hold off Kyle Kirkwood here on lap number 2 through the right-hander. Lundquist's advantage is about 2 or 3 car lengths. He'll lead Kyle Kirkwood into turn number 4. They are single file, but Kirkwood giving chase to our race leader here, Jake, on lap number 2.
So the question becomes, is Kyle Kirkwood more concerned about reeling in Linus Lundquist or about David Malukas trying to get that 2nd spot back? But as they exit turn number 6, the answer becomes simple. Kirkwood's going to try to go to the outside of Linus Lundquist.
Make their way down into turn number 7 and put Kyle Kirkwood into the lead. Kyle Kirkwood got around David Malukas at the entrance of turn number 7, and now Kirkwood already checking out with a 3 car length advantage over 2nd place Linus Lundquist. Right behind them, David Malukas about 3 cars behind the 2nd place runner of Linus Lundquist. Great pass, Kyle Kirkwood down into turn number 7.
Davey Hamilton, are you as impressed with the opening 2 laps as I am from Kyle Kirkwood?
Yeah, no, he was getting it done, didn't he? I mean, that car is on rails right now. Matter of fact, Lundquist, once he got past, tried to keep up with him going into turn 7, locked his front brakes. The brake bias isn't quite as good as Kirkwood, but what a great run. And, you know, usually, Nick, it takes about 4 or 5 laps for these leaders to kind of split away. Not today. These guys are flat checked out.
And so it is Kyle Kirkwood, your race leader here on lap number 2. Let's go to pit lane and Joel Sebastianelli.
Kyle Kirkwood told me earlier this was going to be the key. Yesterday, he opened up more than a second in the first lap and a half. The first 3 laps is what he pointed out was going to be the key. If he could get to the front and stay out front, he knew he was going to be able to open up a gap. If not, just didn't think he was going to be able to do it. So this is exactly what we're seeing right now. He knew he was going to have that pace right away. Couldn't bank on it later on.
Mission accomplished so far, though, in those first 3 laps. Here on lap 3, Kyle Kirkwood has stormed from 3rd to the race lead. Now we'll see what Linus Lundquist can do. Can he challenge and get back to the race lead as they all head to turn 7?
Well, I'll tell you right now, he's going to have to hold off David Malukas because David Malukas is within a car length of 2nd place running Linus Lundquist. Kyle Kirkwood with about a 6 car length advantage over Linus Lundquist. But here comes David Malukas trying to get around his teammate exiting turn number 11.
No doubt about it, David Malukas is right there now. That's the bigger problem for Lundquist, not racing down our leader. He's got to worry about just holding on to 2nd.
Yeah, and Malukas, he wants to continue in this points hunt. He wants to fight to try to get to the front and stay there. He's in 2nd, only 3 points back. So that's actually today. It's usually the first 2 that check out, Nick. Today it's the first 3 have kind of checked out.
And these are 1, 2, and 3 in the championship. In fact, right now, they are all separated by just 4 points. Those top 3 drivers, it is that tight here in Indy Lights. Kyle Kirkwood for Andretti Autosport. He's from Jupiter, Florida, and is doing a fantastic job early in this race with the advantage. It is 0.8 of a second over Linus Lundquist, and then 3rd place running David Malukas. Pretty good challenge for the 6th spot. Let's go a little bit further back in the field, Jake Query. It's Robert McGinnis trying to hold off that bright yellow car of Devlin DeFrancesco. Again, it's a battle for 6th.
And when they came into turn number 6, McGinnis literally looked like he had DeFrancesco magnetized to him just behind him. Now, Peroni is also right there trying to keep an eye on this, but it's a pretty good battle. They run 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, and for Robert McGinnis, it's on the defensive again today. Devlin DeFrancesco starts to look to the inside. He'll tuck right underneath that rear wing of Robert McGinnis. So McGinnis with about a car length advantage over DeFrancesco. But again, like yesterday, stacking him up behind him. That's Alex Peroni right behind the DeFrancesco machine. The field now making their way through turn 11.
I mean, Davey, it just kind of seems like this may be one of those tracks that Robert McGinnis is not a fan of, because as Davey, or as Michael and Jake pointed out, he has been on the defensive now for a race and a half.
Yeah, the situation with him right now is he's holding them up. He's definitely holding them up, and as you said, it's a situation to where he's usually aggressive and fighting for the position in front of him, but not today.
The leader is Kyle Kirkwood. Second is Linus Lundqvist. Third is David Malukas. Toby Sowery runs in fourth. Then in fifth, it is Daniel Frost. And then, as we talked about, that battle for sixth that Robert McGinnis trying to hold on. Let's take a peek again at the front of the field. The battle for second. Lundqvist trying to hold off Malukas into turn 5.
Yeah, and David Malukas is just going to go exactly where Lundqvist goes. Right now, that means 10 car lengths behind the leader, Kyle Kirkwood. Lundqvist a little bit loose through turn number 6. Not necessarily unusual. Malukas hit the same bobbles, but the distance between the two remains the same.
Kyle Kirkwood now about an 8 car length advantage as they make their way through turn number 7. Lundqvist still about 6 car lengths behind as we see David Malukas tuck up underneath that rear wing of Linus Lundqvist. So Lundqvist, a bigger gap than last time through this portion of the circuit. As we look further back, we do see Devlin DeFrancesco get around Robert McGinnis. Now Alex Peroni will try to get around that number 27 Andretti Autosport machine. They're through turn number 11.
Yeah, Davey, the Canadian driver, Devlin DeFrancesco, in that bright highlighter colored car. A nice job setting up Robert McGinnis down there in turn 7.
McGinnis has been holding those guys up, and we'll see what kind of speed DeFrancesco has, because he has a lot of ground to make up. We know that he's in contention and finds himself now in that 6th position, but Frost, he has, about 3 seconds on him, so he has some time to make up.
Yeah, and immediately now that DeFrancesco's gotten around McGinnis, he immediately opens up a gap of about 4 or 5 car lengths. Up front, though, they continue to go nose to tail. Top 3 separated by just 1 second. Linus Lundqvist has got his hands full. Jake continuing with Malukas giving pressure there into turn 5.
It's funny because I could see them entering turn 5, and when I did, I thought, wait a minute, that's just 1 car in second. No, it's 2. It's Linus Lundqvist, but Malukas is literally attached right now to the rear wing as they work their way out of turn number 7.
Kyle Kirkwood able to gap himself now by 8 car lengths. And again, that battle for second continues. It's Linus Lundqvist, this time with about a 2 car length advantage over points leader David Malukas. Malukas with a little trouble through turn number 8. That allows Lundqvist to check out by about 3 car lengths. They make their way through the exit of turn number 11. Kyle Kirkwood, your leader.
It's good stuff, Davey, and it couldn't happen to the 3 better drivers. I mean, these are the 3 in the championship hunt. They've won all 7 races so far this season, and they just can't get away from each other, not only in the point standings, but right now on the racetrack.
You know, it's always fun in this series to see these young kids coming up and be so competitive. I remember Pato Ward and Colton Herta not very long ago. Those were the guys we were talking about and how competitive they were, finding themselves in front of this field. Now you have 3 of these kids that are very impressive on how fast they are. Oh, as right now, Bogle goes off, continues on right now. No harm there. But these kids have a great opportunity that they want to get in the IndyCar Series, and right now they're doing a good job.
Yeah, the issues, as you just mentioned, for Christian Bogle down in turn 11, it looked like he spun, but might have misjudged the corner, had to woe that car down from nosing into the tire barriers. He was running at the back of the pack and will now cycle back into the 13th position, a good 34 seconds behind our race leaders. Here's a full field rundown with 24 laps to go, 6 completed here on the streets of Belle Isle. It is Kyle Kirkwood with a 1 second advantage over Linus Lundqvist. David Malukas runs in third, 1.6 seconds back. Then a 4.5 second gap back to Toby Sowery. Daniel Frost, who runs in fifth. Devlin DeFrancesco moments ago picked up the 6th position, getting around Robert McGinnis. McGinnis is in 7th, a good 14 seconds behind the leaders. He has his hands full right now with Alex Peroni. We'll pick up that battle momentarily. Peroni runs in 8th. Benjamin Pedersen is in the 9th position. He's also being stacked up in that train. Then it's the Russian driver Nikita Lasishkin, who is in 10th. Stingray Rob 11th. Antonio Cerravalli 12th. And then again, Christian Bogle with some early problems in the 13th position, now 37 seconds behind. But it is Kyle Kirkwood trying to sweep the weekend. He picked up his 2nd race win yesterday here at Belle Isle, and the advantage is 1 second. We continue to watch watch, though, this battle for now the 7th position as Robert McGinnis has it in car 27, and Alex Peroni, the driver for Carlin, in that blue and green accented car, takes a swinging arc out of turn number 2, trying to set up Robert McGinnis. Can he get him down in turn 3? McGinnis is going to protect the bottom. Peroni's going to try to go the long way around, and he's going to pull it off, and then he stuffs into the tire barriers. I spoke too soon. He went the long way around. He completed the pass, but the problem, Davey, he ran out of racetrack. Alex Peroni into the tire barriers. This is no doubt going to bring out a full course yellow.
Yeah, full course yellow it is, and that, what a move. That was actually a really good move where McGinnis blocked the bottom, and man, he just drove it and got it out. A little bit of the marbles just wouldn't turn, carry too much speed, and too bad. That he had a good run going, and that's going to ruin his day for sure.
Rob Howden, this was a battle for the 7th position, and I'm sure the Carlin folks were excited to see him aggressive, but probably not with the end result.
Yeah, you know, in the end, I don't think, watching the replay right now, that he needed to go that deep into the corner. The team, of course, had their hands in the air with a pass on the outside. McGinnis was blocking to the inside, just too deep into the corner, and the hands went from the air to the back of their heads. They just couldn't believe what they saw with their driver off the racetrack. Peroni, a very talented young driver, and really, we look for the street courses to be a place where he would be strong, right? One in Formula Renault at Monaco, also run one in Formula Renault at Pau. A couple of, as we know, very, very tough street circuits. We expected him to be strong here. He will not be happy with the way today has ended.
Yeah, and he's done a nice job this season. Came into this weekend 5th in points and has really just kind of been 4th, 5th, 6th in just about every race. Scored a podium finish in race number 2 at Indianapolis, finishing 3rd, and his worst result so far this season was 8th in round number 4 at St. Petersburg. So he had done a nice job of avoiding those rookie mistakes here in Indy Lights. But, Davey, that is probably the best way to sum that one up. Just a rookie mistake, a little aggressive there in turn 3.
Yeah, and I think Rob has it right. He didn't need to go in quite that deep, just overdrove it that little bit and trying to making sure that he didn't get hit when he went around the outside, and just too much. And those tires, I mean, you know, if the tires were in 1 foot, he would have maybe went in the grass, but probably got through. But unfortunately, man, those tires, when they grab you, it rips that suspension right off, and for sure, not a finish that he needed, being 5th in points.
And turn 3, Davey, I mean, it's a pretty wide corner. I mean, there's a lot of, that's one of the best passing points on the racetrack, and it just simply looks like it spilled over a little bit.
You know, and the thing, it's wide getting in. I mean, you can go 3 wide down that straightaway, very bumpy braking zone, but it seems like once you get to that curbing that it narrows up pretty rapidly. It's fun. I mean, fun to watch because guys go through their 2 wide all the time, sometimes 3, and that was almost a 3 wide issue right there, but you gotta make sure that you give the guy room, but he gave just a bit much.
Well, the good news for the driver from Hobart, Australia, driving for Carlin Racing in the Bloodstone Tasmania RDM Fast Ferries car for Carlin Racing, Alex Peroni, is that he is okay. And now that the AMR IndyCar safety crew has gotten that car pulled up by a wrecker, it is pretty significant left front damage. And again, the day done for Alex Peroni. He will end today with a season's worst 13th place finish. So, Davey, I mean, who does this caution benefit the most? I mean, does DeFrancesco come to mind because he's looked a little racy and now can kind of erase that gap that he had to 5th place running Frost and 4th place running Toby Sowery?
He's the one. He's the one that definitely advantaged because he had too much ground to catch up, and it would have taken him just too long to get there to behind Frost. Now he's there. The guy that doesn't like it, obviously, is Kirkwood. You know, now that he had a nice pace going, you get into a nice rhythm, even though Lundqvist and Malukas was right behind him. It always feels better when you don't have to do a restart, have a chance of spinning your tires or getting stuck in front of these guys and then draft off, you get down in turn 3. So not good for Kirkwood, but very good for DeFrancesco.
Might be a big benefit for Toby Sowery as well, as Joel talked about during the pre-race. I mean, a guy that has a nice string of 3 straight podiums, had to pass a couple cars at the start of this race, and now all of a sudden the 3 guys that he's trying to keep pace with in the championship, Davey, he's right on their tails. So now Sowery in car 51 in that green-white car for Juncos, he's going to have a chance to mix it up a little bit as well.
Yeah, I think he needs to find a little speed. It just doesn't have, you know, he's right there behind these guys, and I mean, he needs literally like a 10th a second a lap, which it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's enough to put you out of contention. And you know, that's kind of where I see Sowery. They're so darn close of being contenders and challenging the 3 guys in front of him. But he's going to, like say, unless he can find about that 10th of a second lap, he's probably not going to challenge him.
Again, this is the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires on IndyCar Radio. My name is Nick Yeoman. That voice you just heard is Davey Hamilton. Mark Janes will join us a little bit later today for the call of race number 2 of the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix. Out of the course right now, it's Jake Query and Michael Young. Down on pit lane, Joel Sebastianelli and Rob Howden. We are working a full course caution, round number 8, second race of the weekend for the Indy Lights Championship presented by Cooper Tires. Here on lap number 9, 21 to go. Kyle Kirkwood is your race leader. He took the lead on lap number 3 with a daring pass to get around Linus Lundqvist down in turn number 7. And Kirkwood has his sights on sweeping the weekend. It is Kirkwood, Lundqvist, and points leader David Malukas. 1, 2, 3 right now. Toby Sowery is going to restart in the 4th spot. Daniel Frost will restart 5th. Devlin DiFrancesco right now runs in the 6th position. Robert McGinnis is 7th. Benjamin Pedersen is 8th. Stingray Rob is 9th. Nikita Lashishkin is in 10th. Antonio Cerravalli is 11th. Christian Bogle probably happy to see that caution after stalling out near the tire barriers early in this race. He'll get to regather and join the back of the field in 12th. And then again, the reason for the full course caution, Alex Peroni, the driver from Australia, overcooks it, gets it a little too wide, exiting turn 3, trying to pass Robert McGinnis, and ripped off the left front, putting that car into the tire barriers. Rob Howden, field about to see 1 to go as we get set to go racing once again here at Belle Isle.
Yeah, Nick, just a quick little note. Very interesting to see the way they run on the racetrack right now. If we're trying to kind of kick the excitement up here in Indy Lights and thinking about that championship chase, there's no downtime. We all head to Road America this coming weekend, and as they run on the racetrack right now, it's the reverse order of the points, so it would tighten everything up. Right now, Kirkwood, with that win yesterday, jumped his way up to 3rd in points. Lundqvist is in 2nd, and David Malukas is your point leader coming in by just 2 markers over his teammates. So we've got ourselves some excitement here right now. Just the way things are setting up, it's going to be even tighter when we get to Road America.
Yeah, and as they run, and I know I hate that phrase because we've got more than a half a season to go, but it is amazing that we are sitting here 7.5 races in, and the top 3 of the championship are separated by 4 points. I mean, it just illustrates how strong this field has been, especially at the top. David Malukas with 3 race wins, Linus Lundqvist with 2, Kyle Kirkwood with 2, looking for a 3rd. Davey, we're kind of watching that cleanup down in turn 3. Peroni really stuffed it into the tires, but it looks like the AMR safety crew, along with Detroit Grand Prix safety workers, have done a nice job of getting that car out and making sure those tire barriers are straightened back up.
Yeah, and one thing they do with the tire barriers, they have a rubber matting that goes around that entire tire stack, and it kind of bolts them together. So when the car hits it, most of the time breaks those loose, so they have to reattach that just to try to make it a slicker area where it doesn't grab you as much. So it did rip that off. They got it back. And one thing with this safety crew, they make sure it's right before they allow these guys to go racing again.
We saw that certainly yesterday, Davey. Again, for those that might have missed it, a just hellacious hit for Felix Rosenqvist yesterday when the throttle stuck in the IndyCar race that not only moved the tire barriers, but it moved the darn wall down there in turn 6.
Yeah, not moved it. Yeah, moved it and tipped it over. I mean, it was pretty massive. And you got to remember the fencing is attached to the top of that wall. So that was a gigantic hit. Car landed on top of that tire barrier through the fencing. Very, very scary looking. And but I just actually read a tweet from Felix, doing okay. A lot of soreness, he says, and you can expect that, but thanking everybody, that safety crew as well, and you know, he's excited to get back in the race car.
Yep, Felix, of course, a former Indy Lights race winner, and he's being replaced today by a former Indy Lights champion. We will restart that champion, of course, Oliver Askew, by the way. We will restart here on lap number 11 of 30 here from Belle Isle. Kyle Kirkwood is your race leader. He accelerates out of turn number 13, and immediately Toby Sowery's looking to challenge David Malukas for the 3rd spot. They'll roar underneath the start-finish line. Sowery took a peek to the inside of Malukas, thought better of it, gets back in line to the left-hander of turn number 2 as the field safely bends their way through the S's that starts a lap here at Detroit. DiFrancesco looking racy, trying to grab that 5th position around the outside of Daniel Frost. They'll go side by side into that turn number 3 part. Daniel Frost swings a little wide. DiFrancesco, though, can't find a way around. Kyle Kirkwood is your race leader, and he'll lead the field as we restarted into turn 5.
Last time by behind the pace car, Kirkwood was trying to get some heat in those Cooper tires and almost got loose through turn number 6. He is much more cautious this time by. He enjoys himself a 4-car length advantage over Linus Lundqvist.
Kyle Kirkwood now checking that out to 6 car lengths over Linus Lundqvist. The battle, though, for second as David Malukas there. So Toby Sowery further back in the field. We see it pass Stingray Rob getting around Benjamin Pedersen. Nice pass by Stingray Rob going into turn number 7. The leaders already making their way through the exit of turn number 11.
That was a great pass, David. You see Stingray Rob back there? I mean, that's the definition of pulling out late and making sure you can get a pass surprising the guy in front of you.
Yeah, that's what you have to do, man. There's no easy passes, it doesn't seem like, at this facility. Means there's walls on both sides of you with the bumps that you're dealing with, the tire debris off course. I mean, it's nothing easy. And so when you make that move, just like Stingray, you got to be aggressive and you got to make it happen quick.
Yep, every point, every position here in Detroit is earned. That is maybe the understatement of the year. Front 4 have checked out, and Daniel Frost moments ago, Davey, warned for blocking as he's trying to hold off his teammate Devlin DiFrancesco, trying to make that red and white 68 car as wide as possible.
Yeah, those Andretti teammates definitely battling with each other, no question about it. That was a big block, and one thing that I'm happy to see that we talked about, as you even mentioned, Sowery, it advantages him to be closer to the first 3 guys in front. I said, hey, man, he needs to find a little bit of speed. Well, it looks like he's found that, Nick. He's staying right with those guys. I mean, there's a couple car lengths between him, but those 4 cars, instead of 3 cars checking out, it's now 4.
Leaders are checking out, and Michael Young, Stingray Rob may not be done. He runs in the 8th position, swinging wide, trying to get around Robert McGinnis. They're side by side.
Yes, and it is Stingray Rob that gets that position. Boy, a late move. I was watching the Daniel Frost, Devlin DiFrancesco battle. Now, further back, Robert McGinnis has mirrors full of Benjamin Pedersen. So Benjamin Pedersen trying to get back around Robert McGinnis, but Stingray Rob with a nice pass around Robert McGinnis coming into turn 7.
And McGinnis may not be done. Davey, Benjamin Pedersen right up the inside as they head towards the start-finish line.
Well, remember yesterday, Pedersen had a great run going on, Nick, and then had some mechanical or something went bad with that car. Or I can't even remember what happened. Got into the wall, been a toe link or something. But he was fast yesterday. Didn't have a great qualifying run for today, but he has some speed. And McGinnis, he's been on defense all day.
Yeah, this is the driver that he was trying to get around, spent all day trying to pass Robert McGinnis, and now Benjamin Pedersen finds himself in a deja vu similar situation, trying to run down Robert McGinnis into turn 3. They're separated by just a handful of feet. This is the battle for the 8th spot. McGinnis just lost the 7th spot to Stingray Rob. Now he's trying to hold on, Jake, as Benjamin Pedersen chasing him down to that orange and black car.
Boy, and Pedersen into turn number 5 literally is stalking him in. I thought for a second there his nose was actually going to punt Robert McGinnis moving into turn number 6. McGinnis gets himself a half a car length. Michael has a look coming into your view.
Well, right now they just pop into my view, and there is Benjamin Pedersen right underneath the rear wing of Robert McGinnis. Nearly gets into the gearbox. Further back, Lostishkin and Bogle battling. Bogle gets around Lostishkin, but let's go back to that 8th position battle. It's Robert McGinnis about 1 car length over the machine of Benjamin Pedersen. They make their way out of the inner loop.
Yep, and Rob Howden, Benjamin Pedersen yesterday chasing that car all over the racetrack. We know it's got some speed. Once again, though, he finds himself behind Robert McGinnis.
Yeah, Nick, I'm going to expect him to be a little more cautious here. He went off, as we know, he tried the outside move in turn number 1. It was a wild move, but he told me afterwards there was so much rubber out there. In fact, Nick looks like he's going to try to make a move again on the outside again to 1. Maybe not. This is tucked it back in, there. Right? Yeah. He told me yesterday, Nick, that when you went offline, he went off in 1, way wide, as we know. Picked up so much of the rubber. He told me it felt like coming out of turn 2, the front wing had fallen off. He literally had no grip. The thing was skating all over the place. A lap later, all of a sudden, the chassis handling all came back when the tires got cleaned up. But he said there's so much clag off the racetrack, so much rubber buildup off track. The minute you go offline, it's like you're on ice.
Pedersen continues to give chase, Jake, into turn number 5.
Working their way now, setting up for turn number 6. Pedersen this time 5. Looks like McGinnis between 5 and 6 might have gotten himself a little bit of breathing room, but now Pedersen is going to try to look to the outside, not able to make the move on Robert McGinnis.
Benjamin Pedersen right underneath that rear wing of Robert McGinnis. Now 1 car length advantage for Robert McGinnis over Pedersen. Further up in the field, it's Daniel Frost, Devlin DiFrancesco. A couple of great battles here in the inner loop.
And as Pedersen continues to give chase, Davey, I mean, to the point Rob just made, there is a disadvantage for searching all over the racetrack to try to find grip. And as Rob detailed for Benjamin Pedersen, it was picking up all that debris on those tires.
Yeah, and that to do it every time. And we've seen it yesterday. You can visually see offline all those marbles, as we call them, the small bits of tire that are being used and wore off these tires outside that line. If you get on those sticky tires on your car, we'll pick those up, and it literally is like ice until you get them cleaned off. And it usually takes a couple laps. It's not easy to get them cleaned off.
We've been focused on the battle at the back of the pack. Jake, let's check in. How's the advantage look for our leader, Kyle Kirkwood, right now?
Right now, it looks good. That's the sound of it. And then that second sound you hear is Linus Lundqvist. Reality is, Michael, as they work their way on that long straightaway, about an 8 to 10 car length advantage for Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah, for Kyle Kirkwood, he really is checked out from the second place running Linus Lundqvist. That battle really starting to shape up right now. David Malukas trying to get around Linus Lundqvist, about a car length disadvantage for the machine of David Malukas, and that's the way it stays through turn number 11. Further back in the field, we'll look at that Robert McGinnis battle with Benjamin Pedersen, still about a car length there as well. But the field has really spread themselves out, and Kyle Kirkwood with a big lead as we work our way to the second half of this race.
Yeah, it's spread out as we've reached the halfway point, but the battles are still really good. I mean, a good one for second, third, and fourth between Lundqvist, Malukas, and Sowery. Then you've got Daniel Frost, who's been trying to hang on right in front of Devlin DiFrancesco. And then we've talked about the struggles for Robert McGinnis as Benjamin Pedersen continues to work over the back of that Andretti Autosport car in the battle for the 8th position. Up front, though, it is Kyle Kirkwood, and we see Pedersen makes the pass on the front straightaway. So he finally gets around Robert McGinnis, move Benjamin Pedersen, the Dutch driver, up to the 8th position. And it is Kyle Kirkwood up front with 14 to go. Here's a look at the full field rundown. Kyle Kirkwood, your race leader, by 1.7 seconds. Then it is Linus Lundqvist. David Malukas runs in third, 2.5 seconds behind. Toby Sowery is in fourth. Daniel Frost is fifth. Devlin DiFrancesco in sixth. Stingray Rob with a nice charge. The driver from Idaho has come all the way up to the 7th position. Then it's Benjamin Pedersen, who runs in 8th after grabbing that spot from Robert McGinnis, who's been relegated to 9th. Christian Bogle made a pass of Nikita Lashishkin, so Bogle has moved up into the 10th position. Lashishkin is 11th. Antonio Cerravalli, the final car on the racetrack, at the 12th spot, and in 13th out of the race after just 7 laps, Alex Peroni, who brought out the only full course caution of this second race here at Detroit and Indy Lights, stuffed it into the turn 3 tire barriers, ripping off the left front, damaging the suspension, ending his day with a 13th place position, finish, I should say. 13 laps to go, and Davey, I'll tell you what, Kyle Kirkwood, now that he's given himself a little bit of breathing room, it's closing in on 2 seconds, can kind of allow those drivers to battle further back. Let's first hear, though, from his car owner, Michael Andretti, who's standing by with Joel Sebastianelli on pit lane.
Michael Andretti watching as Kyle Kirkwood builds a 1.9 second lead and growing. He's had to battle a little bit of adversity this year. IMS, Barber, not the easiest weekends, but he has rebounded quite nicely. What does that tell you about his character?
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of confidence in himself, and he's showing it. He's never given up, and he's doing a great job this weekend. Hopefully we can keep it going.
A win today would tie him with Spencer Pigot for the most wins on the road to Indy. And he's doing it at one of the most physically demanding tracks that there is. What does that tell you about his readiness to compete at the next level?
Yeah, he's ready. I mean, he's shown that he's had the talent, and he's showing it again today. And he had, like you say, a little slow start, but he's getting a handle now on the Lights car, and he's really starting to show up.
He's getting after it. We'll let you look on. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right, good stuff there, Joel. I think everyone is awful impressed with Kyle Kirkwood, and he is starting to come on strong after really David Malukas and Linus Lundqvist lit the world on fire over the first couple rounds. Kyle Kirkwood has kind of said, don't forget about me, after winning in St. Petersburg, and now looking to go back-to-back to score his 3rd race win of the year. And Michael Andretti has to be awful happy knowing that he's got another strong candidate to one day drive in the NTT IndyCar Series, Rob Howden.
The interesting thing, just to add a little bit to the hiatus of Indy Lights last year, you have to remember that Kyle Kirkwood did not drive a Formula car at all in in 2020. He did some sports car racing, but didn't get behind the wheel of a single-seater, while Linus Lundqvist and David Malukas were all in the Formula Regional Americas program, pounding out laps, doing tons of testing throughout the off-season as well. So this is really just Kyle, I think, Nick, kind of getting back into his groove. Remember, he won the USF 2000 championship in 18, the Indy Pro 2000 championship in 19, just was kind of on the bench for all of 2020. He's, I think, definitely back to the Kyle we saw back in 2019.
And Rob, you can certainly speak to this as the voice of the road to Indy. I mean, Joel touched on it, the record that Kyle Kirkwood is eyeing. This is a guy who has just been remarkably consistent and remarkably strong on every step of the ladder system for the road to Indy.
It was interesting, Nick. People use the word dominant of his USF 2000 season, and I always say he wasn't dominant. He was just the smartest guy out there. He was the fastest, won a lot of races, but when other drivers were making mistakes, diving into turn number 1 at the starts, he was the guy that came out on the other side of the chaos. He was always able to take care of the race car, and I think that's one thing that IndyCar team owners want. Bring the car home, roll it back onto the trailer, and that's what he's shown. He's very fast, unbelievably fast, can win races, but he's also a smart driver who knows how to stay out of trouble.
Well, right now he is poised to load that car back on the trailer with a pair of race-winning trophies. 2.4 seconds the lead for Kyle Kirkwood over Linus Lundqvist. Lundqvist continues to hold on over David Malukas. Those two are separated by less than a half a second in the battle for second. And if they tangle, Toby Sowery may be the one that's there to pick up the pieces, as Sowery runs 4 seconds behind the leader in fourth. But again, just a second behind that battle for second. Daniel Frost, the final driver inside the top 5, he runs in 5th and has kind of stabilized in that battle between his teammate Devlin DiFrancesco. It's a 1 second advantage for Frost over the Canadian DiFrancesco, who runs in 6th. Well, we'll go racing a little bit later today in the NTT IndyCar Series. Pre-race coverage starts at noon Eastern here on IndyCar Radio, and Mark James joins us here in the broadcast booth. And Mark, what's that song, I've Seen Fire, I've Seen Rain? Because we saw everything yesterday in race number 1 for the IndyCar Series on the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix.
Yeah, first things first, just recently released just a few moments ago. In fact, Felix Rosenqvist has been cleared and released, so good news for him. His sights are set now on Road America, with Oliver Askew in the car for him after Felix Rosenqvist had that nasty crash yesterday, 24 laps in. So that's certainly good news for Felix Rosenqvist, and we wish Oliver Askew all the best today. Santino Ferrucci looking for a solid weekend after a top 10 finish yesterday. Hit the wall late in qualifying. They will go to a backup car, but per the rule book, he will keep his starting position. So that's good news for Santino Ferrucci. That is, if they can get the necessary repairs made to that car, or I should say get the backup car prepared in time. They hope to do that. He would start on the outside of row number 6. But how about Joseph Newgarden? I mean, had a shot yesterday, lost that wheel early in the race, put him a lap down. He came back to get a top 10. He will start on pole for the first time since Iowa last year. He and Colton Herta will lead the field to the green flag, and well documented the issues late in the race with the red flag, what it cost Will Power. A little bit of everything yesterday, and we expect the same thing today when we go racing a little afternoon Eastern.
Yeah, the color of the day was red, not just because we saw the controversial, we saw 2 red flags yesterday, one with a little bit of controversy, but ultimately it was the red and white car of Marcus Ericsson who finds his way to victory lane for the first time. Mark, 4 first-time winners here in just 7 races. Pretty remarkable, the stuff we're seeing.
Yeah, it's impressive. And as we said, the young guns continue to add depth to this field and make it ultra competitive. When we think over the course of this championship chase, it'll not necessarily be race wins. It'll be podiums and top 5 finishes that will propel someone to a championship. Speaking of that championship chase, the lead is pared down to about 16 points for Alex Palou because of the engine change, relegated to the rear of the field yesterday. Was able to get it up to about 16th yesterday is where he finished, but better fate for Alex Palou today. He qualifies 4th, and I know that he's very, very happy with his race car. It's a very fast race car, and expect that Alex Palou will be a factor today.
IndyCar anchor Mark James joins us here on the Indy Lights broadcast. With 9 laps to go, Kyle Kirkwood is your race leader by 2.5 seconds. Okay, you mentioned the depth of this field and what these young drivers bring to it. Is depth the best way to describe and kind of figure out why some of the major players of yesterday, Will Power, Marcus Ericsson, Pato O'Ward, are all going to start outside of the top 15. It's just hard to back up a good day on Saturday and do it again on Sunday.
Yeah, I think, you know, if you look at the difference in the times, especially, I mean, we see it, like, for instance, we had the Firestone Fast 12 this weekend, but typically in the Firestone Fast 6, I mean, it's literally, you know, a millisecond or two that separates being in the Fast 6 or the Fast 12 from being outside of that. And, you know, people scratch their head, hey, what's wrong with Penske? Why haven't they been in victory lane in a while? Well, you know, it's not that their results sometimes are that bad. It's just that it's very, very competitive. And the slightest little mistake of late, it seems as though more than driver error, it's just simply an ill-timed pit stop. I mean, let's face it, that cost Scott Dixon what was otherwise a perfect month of May for him. It cost him a shot to win the Indianapolis 500. Same for Alexander Rossi. And it bit Scott Dixon yesterday, the way the pit strategy fell out. So sometimes, you know, lady luck can smile upon you, and sometimes not so much. And I think that's just another indication of just how very competitive this field is.
It'll be an All-American front row in the Motor City when we go racing a little bit later today. Joseph Newgarden and Colton Herta, a pair of Indy Lights graduates. Mark Janes, Davey Hamilton, and the entire crew will have the call of that race again. Pre-race coverage for race number 2 of the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix can be heard on these same outlets, as well as various IndyCar radio affiliates, again starting at noon Eastern time. We've got to put the finishing touches though on Indy Lights race number 2. Kyle Kirkwood's lead now at 2.3 seconds, so if Lundqvist is carving into it, he's making little progress. It is down to 2.2 seconds though. Then David Malukas runs in 3rd, Toby Sowery is 4th, Daniel Frost is 5th, in 6th is Devlin DeFrancesco, Stingray Rob is 7th, Benjamin Pedersen 8th, Christian Vogel 9th, and Robert McGinnis is at 10th. The leaders, though, Jake Query popping back into your view in turn number 6.
And very quickly, Kyle Kirkwood makes sure that he leaves that view underneath the Pure Michigan Bridge, because he's got a sizable advantage now. Michael, we'll call it 12 car lengths between himself and the second place running Linus Lundqvist.
Yeah, he keeps stretching that lead. I'd say it's even up to 15 car lengths right now, as Kyle Kirkwood already into turn 8, as we see Linus Lundqvist now getting into turn number 8. Yeah, easily 12 to 15 car lengths for Kyle Kirkwood. Nick, he has been in cruise control mode this entire race. Once he got that lead, boy, he has just set his sights on getting this victory. Really has been an impressive run for this young man.
Michael, let's stay with you. Is the best battle right now for 7th between Stingray Rob and Benjamin Pedersen?
Yeah, Pedersen just had the back end step out ever so slightly when he tried to get back on the throttle. Yeah, that is the best battle right now, and Pedersen has closed that disadvantage. He was down about 15 car lengths about 5 laps ago. He's really been able to close in on that rear wing of Stingray Rob. That might be a battle in the next lap or 2.
Davey, kind of feels like Benjamin Pedersen, if he can find a way to qualify a little bit better, may be a factor, because he's done a nice job here now in 2 days of really looking racy in the mid-pack.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it's surprising that Stingray Rob got by him, because he's all over him. It's like, where did the speed come from? Why didn't he have it before Stingray got in front of him? But that's a nice little battle back there for 2 guys that need a little bit of luck and are continuing to get faster and faster every weekend we run.
They're battling for the 7th position into turn number 3. Stingray Rob driving for Juncos Racing in the scholarship car, winning the Indy Pro 2000 championship a year ago, but he is hanging on, Jake Query, by 1 car length over Pedersen.
By Pedersen, who has been very active today, trying to stalk in different drivers. Right now it's Stingray Rob, and he got just a little bit loose through turn number 6, but guess what? So too did Pedersen. That middle of the racetrack, Michael, can get just a little bit bumpy. Pedersen, though, was not able to make a move.
Perhaps the marbles starting to become a factor in this late stages of this race. Stingray Rob makes his way through turn number 8, but Benjamin Pedersen is right there. Rob about a 2 car length advantage over the Benjamin Pedersen machine. They'll make their way through the right-hander of turn number 11.
And he's got just 5 more laps to try to get around Stingray Rob to grab that 7th position, as they are separated by just 0.4 of a second on the stopwatch on the racetrack. That is just a matter of a car length or 2. Kyle Kirkwood is up front. Yesterday, Linus Lundqvist and David Malukas, Toby Sowery, tossed him into the fountain after winning the race. They may toss him in again today. but more to say, hey, will you quit beating us, because this championship battle has gotten awful tight. Kyle Kirkwood makes the bend through turn number 6. His advantage over Linus Lundqvist continues to drop. It's down to 1.9 seconds, and Davey, that's probably not enough to panic, but Lundqvist has carved off about a half a second here in the last couple laps.
Yeah, now's the time to do it, right? I mean, 5 laps to go, and you know, if you're gonna make any position gains, now is the time. You got to hope. Now, one thing that these guys fight at the end of the race is tire wear. Who is taking care of their tires the most? You don't get to change them during these races, so at the end of the runs, where Kirkwood seems that he's been so masterful and the car's been so good that his tires look good, seem to be handling good, and not dropping off in speed in any way, but the guys behind him, we'll see how good they take care of their tires.
Davey, what impact did that mid-race caution might have had on these Cooper tires? Oh, hold that thought, Davey. We've got an issue in turn number 11, and it appears to be Daniel Frost, who was running in the top 5, and he has buried the left front into the tire barriers. Michael, can you see that 68 car, Daniel Frost?
Yeah, I can see the back end half of the Daniel Frost car. Yeah, he buried that deep, tried to get back on that accelerator and just did not have the turn cleared, and he is in the tire barriers. The AMR safety crew already coming to his attention.
Davey, it looked like that car was bouncing. You're seeing an onboard shot now as he tried to navigate through turn 11. Oh, the hands came off the steering wheel.
Yeah, and what happens, back to those curves, you hit the insides, and that wasn't even really a curve, but that bump right there just got loose from him and lost the grip of that steering wheel just so slightly and shoved that front end right into the wall.
It wasn't a massive hit by any means, but it is enough to destroy the left front suspension on that 68 car. So Daniel Frost, driver from Singapore, is going to see a top 5 finish wash away. And Joel Sebastianelli, we've got 4 laps to go, and I would imagine some nervous pit crews down there on pit lane now.
Absolutely. As far as whether or not we're going to get this race restarted, it'll be interesting to see. With this crash, I can't say for sure that that's what this is about, but one of the things I talked about in pre-race with Kyle Kirkwood is how difficult it is to handle these bumps and keep your hands on the wheel. Blistering can be an issue with some of these guys on these street circuits. It's not for him, but keeping his hands on the wheel, he actually had to apply tennis grip to his wheel. And the way that he applied it is almost like a cradle. Anders Krohn has described Belle Isle as going 12 rounds with Muhammad Ali. Kirkwood had such a hard time keeping his hands on the wheel. He had to do everything he could to make sure his hands weren't going to leave. It's not like any street circuit that he's been to, so wanted to do everything he could to make sure that his hands were up in this fight. Just something that came to mind as I saw his hands leave the wheel in that incident.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, Davey, in the post-mortem after some of these doubleheader weekends or street courses, one of the favorite things I like to see on social media is a lot of drivers will take pictures of those hands and show those blisters and the calluses. You know, it gives us an insight of what they look like, but what do those things feel like after a weekend like this?
Well, it's not fun. I mean, I'm sure most people have had those blisters. If you grab a shovel, go to work, and you haven't done it for a while, get those blisters, and it just continues to dig in. Now, the great thing is, you know, when we have a racing glove, they're not just a racing glove to keep fire off your hands. They are Nomex, but they try to put pads on those gloves too, to where it doesn't give those calluses and those blisters to your hands. But it's very hard to do, to have those pads there and still be able to grip hold of that steering wheel. So that's technology that they try to do, but it doesn't always help. Now, also tape. A lot of these guys tape their hands off in certain areas that rubs their hands, but it's very painful, actually very painful, and it's worse the next few days.
So there is 3 laps to go, and the AMR IndyCar safety crew doing their best to try to get Daniel Frost's car out of the tire barrier. We've been told that they are just going to back that car into the runoff area in turn number 11 if they can get it removed. But this is going to be awful tight, Davey, as the field kind of making their way down the back straightaway now with, I guess you could call it 2.5 laps to go. I'd love to see this thing end under green and see a nice little shootout, but again, that 68 car, the nose appears to be stuck.
Yeah, it looks like it's stuck. Looks like maybe they just now
they got it,
wedged out of there. Boy, I'd sure like to see with a couple laps at least for these guys to fight it out.
Kyle Kirkwood wouldn't mind, though, if it ends under yellow, right? I mean, he'd love to take a second straight win.
Yeah, no, as I said, for our fans, we always want a green flag finish. But it's going to be 1 to go, so these safety workers are going to have to hurry and get that car out of the way.
How about that? We're going to get a one-lap shootout to decide race number 8 of this 2021 season, as they have gotten Daniel Frost's car out of the tire barriers. It is elevated about a foot off the ground on the back of a wrecker, and again, they are going to just back that car right up. That's the benefit of where he put it in the tire barriers is a runoff area there, kind of right where we've got Michael Young set up, where they can just kind of back that car out of the way, off the racetrack, out of the racing line, so we can resume this. So a furled green flag, 1 to go here at Belle Isle. It'll be a one-lap shootout to decide this race in Indy Lights. Kyle Kirkwood is your race leader. Linus Lundqvist is second. David Malukas, your points leader, coming in, runs in third. Toby Sowery is fourth. Devlin DiFrancesco now moves up into the 5th position after the incident involving Daniel Frost. Stingray Rob now runs 6th. Benjamin Pedersen is in 7th. Christian Bogle looking at a career best finish now. He runs in 8th. Robert McGinnis is 9th. Nikita Lashiskin is 10th. And Antonio Cerravalli, final car on the lead lap and on the racetrack, in 11th. Daniel Frost out of the race now with that incident on lap 25. He will finish in 12th. And then Alex Peroni, who brought out the first of 2 full course cautions, he will finish in the 13th position. And Davey, this was the question I was going to ask you right before that perfectly timed caution. What are these drivers doing now with these Cooper tires? They've got 28 laps of running on them. We always worry about tire wear. What can they do to get those things ready for one lap around Belle Isle?
Well, they have what they have right now, Nick, is that's whatever rubber's left on them is what they have. The balance, they know where they're at. The most important thing, they get them clean right now, meaning swerve back and forth. When you see guys swerve back and forth, it does 2 things. Continues the heat in those tires, plus cleans the dirty marbles off of them. So they'll spin those rear tires, they'll move back and forth. That's the most important thing. So when you come off for that restart, that you're not, you have a good handling car going down into turn 1.
Michael, is that backed up by what you're seeing from these drivers as they make their way down to turn number 7 here under caution for the final time?
If we're going to go green, they better get the rest of the field caught up, because Kyle Kirkwood's already through turn number 8. It was David Malukas that was really hanging back. There was about, I don't know, a 2-second gap behind the 2 front runners and David Malukas. Now the field's starting to catch up, and everybody in a hurry as they get their way through turn number 11. But it looks like everybody will make their way through this portion of the track okay. It's going to be a shootout, Nick Gilman. Interesting to see if anybody has anything for Kyle Kirkwood.
Oh, a shootout in the purest form. 1 lap to go here at Detroit for the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Kyle Kirkwood, the driver from Florida, trying to sweep the weekend. He'll accelerate out of turn number 13, and he'll see the green flag. Linus Lundqvist got a good jump as well. They are going to race across the start-finish line. Lundqvist takes a look to the outside, has to get back in line through turn number 1. Now they'll bend to the left in turn number 2. Looks like Benjamin Pedersen just got around Stingray Rob, who is struggling here at the end of this race. But it is Kyle Kirkwood leading the field down to turn number 3. His advantage over Linus Lundqvist, a good car length and a half. Lundqvist runs in 2nd. Malukas is 3rd. Toby Sowery's in 4th. They're going side by side further back. But up front, Jake Query, it is Kyle Kirkwood trying to hold on and sweep the weekend here in Detroit.
Kyle Kirkwood has a 2-car length advantage. Everybody is single file. Behind him it's Lundqvist, then Malukas and Sowery. But Michael, he needed a clean final lap, and right now Kyle Kirkwood is halfway there.
Jupiter, Florida's Kyle Kirkwood, and some Florida sunshine shining in pure Michigan. Kyle Kirkwood, a 4-car length advantage over Linus Lundqvist. Rest of the field safely through turn number 7. Here comes Kyle Kirkwood, still a battle for that 2nd position. Linus Lundqvist and David Malukas, but Kyle Kirkwood through turn 11 for the final time.
Malukas running in 3rd. His car stepping out all over the place. He's trying to get around his teammate Linus Lundqvist for the 2nd position, and the focus is there because up front, what a final lap for Kyle Kirkwood. He takes the green and white flag. He opens up a gap of nearly 8 car lengths, 1 second on the field, and out of the final corner, Kyle Kirkwood will sweep the weekend, winning race number 2 here in the Indy Lights Grand Prix of Detroit, presented by Cooper Tires. Kirkwood's winning margin 1 second over Linus Lundqvist, who comes home in 2nd. David Malukas finishes 3rd. Toby Sowery will come home in 4th. Devlin DiFrancesco in 5th. And Davey, when he absolutely had to be perfect, no doubt about it, Jupiter, Florida's Kyle Kirkwood was on that final restart.
Yeah, what a good restart he did. It seemed like Lundqvist tried a little bit going into turn 1, but by the time they got to turn 2, Kirkwood had the line. He knew it was going straight, and man, he pulled a nice little lead out. Good win for him.
And Rob Howden, a little history for Kyle Kirkwood as well with this victory.
You know, you look back at what he was able to do in USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000. He has now tied Spencer Pigot for the all-time wins here in the Road to Indy. 22 victories. You got to think Nick will have a new record before the end of this season.
Yep, it is the 3rd race win of the season, and again, in the points championship, Kirkwood now 3rd in points, just 4 points behind our points leader, who is now Linus Lundqvist, just 1 marker over David Malukas. It is ridiculously tight here in Indy Lights at the top of the podium. Kyle Kirkwood wins here at Detroit. Linus Lundqvist and David Malukas get a 2nd and 3rd position, Davey, and really that's all you can do, right? I mean, you're in the championship hunt. Kirkwood was hot this weekend, but it's not like Lundqvist or Malukas really threw away a lot of points.
Yeah, they did. How close is it? I mean, when you got the top 3 guys within 4 points of the championship, that means it's going to be a great year, great battle between these 3 guys. Now we've seen Sowery and DeFrancisco and Pedersen just to try to get a little more oomph. And McGinnis, what happened to McGinnis? You know, he looked good early on, but he continued to fall back. So these guys aren't done either. It's gonna be a great championship battle. But right now, these are the 3 guys. The guys got 1st, 2nd, 3rd. They're the ones to look at for the championship.
Really good job by Michael Young and Jake Query calling the action. They'll be back out on the course later today to call race number 2 of the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix here at Belle Isle. And as all these drivers make their way back around, in fact, Kyle Kirkwood's already made his way to victory lane, popping out of that race car victorious for a 2nd straight day. Before we hear from some of these drivers, here's a look at the full field rundown. Kyle Kirkwood wins by 1 second over Linus Lundqvist. David Malukas finishes in 3rd. 4th was Toby Sowery. 5th, Devlin DeFrancisco. 6th is Benjamin Pedersen. 7th is Christian Bogle. 8th, Robert McGinnis. 9th will be Nikita Lashishkin. Stingray Rob really tumbles there on that final restart. The big loser, he falls all the way down to the 10th position. Antonio Cerravalli finishes 11th, and then out of the race, Daniel Frost and Alex Peroni finishing in 12th and 13th. Next up for the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires, it is off to Road America for a doubleheader where once again they will be accompanied by the IndyCar Series. So we're going to go to victory lane here momentarily to hear from some of these drivers. Kyle Kirkwood has popped out of that car. David Malukas is as well, as everybody will be celebrating down there in victory lane. And let's hear from Linus Lundqvist. All right, Joel Sebastianelli, you've caught up with the driver who finished in 2nd.
A couple of 2nd place finishes this weekend. No, you guys obviously want to win, but this is pretty important for you in the championship. What's your takeaway from this weekend in Detroit?
Overall, okay. Very disappointed with this race. I mean, starting from pole around here, you know, we wanted to get that win, but we just couldn't get the tires fired up quick enough. And yeah, Cal was on it today, so congrats to him. But yeah, we'll take a P2 today.
How physical a challenge is driving around here compared to the rest of the calendar?
It is challenging, especially with all the bumps. Fortunately, it wasn't as hot today as it was yesterday. But when you're out there, to be honest, you know, you got so much adrenaline and you just want to move forward, so you don't really feel it that much. It's more now when you jump out of the car and you feel like, my shoulder is maybe taking a bit of a punishment, but it's usually all right.
Positioned nicely for the rest of the season, Linus Lundqvist. 2nd position today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And let's hear from our race winner standing by with Rob Howden.
Kyle Kirkwood, a lot to unpack here because a lot of things were going on. For the first time this season, we got a winner who didn't start on the pole position. I know that you had a great car and you knew it was going to be good coming out of the gate. How important to you think was it to be able to lead as you did so early?
It was massive. I mean, we saw it in qualifying and we saw it in race 1. We were really strong on the first couple laps, and it proved just that. That first corner, I mean, I barely got under David. It looks like he spun his tires a little bit there on the initial start, and I was able to get a run on him, and that's what we needed. I knew if I got by him, maybe I could charge for the lead, because the person who's got the push pass behind the lead is the one that's going to make the most moves. And Linus made a couple little mistakes in turn 5 and 6 where he slid a little bit too much. I got to power nicely, and I was able to drive around him on the outside, which is not easy to do, but the push to pass really helped me there, and it was a fantastic race. I couldn't be happier with that outcome right there. 2 wins this weekend. That's the first time anybody's got 2 wins this year as well, and we got the most wins now. So, close in the championship.
Obviously an up and down start to the season for you as well, right? You had some rough runs, you had some good ones. St. Petersburg, here in Detroit. You're 4 points out of the championship lead right now. That's how close it is. You're still P3, but it's 4 points. That's got to give you some momentum going to Road America.
No, it definitely does. We did a test at Road America, and I feel like we've got the cars kind of in the window, and it should be really good. It's going to be a close fight. I think everyone's kind of predicted that by the end of the season, it's going to be between me, Linus, and David, and it's turning out to be just that.
Last but not least, you've had a great career so far on the road to Indy. USF 2000, all those wins. Indy Pro, all those wins. You're now tied with Spencer Pigot, the all-time win leader in the road to Indy with 22. You got to beat your fellow Florida driver, but does that make you feel good to be able to have that in on your resume?
It definitely helps. It's not a bad thing at all, but we're here to win a championship. Wins get to championships, and that's proven in the past 2 championships with me and USF and Indy Pro 2000. So we're going to try and do the same thing here.
Congrats on a great day.
Thank you, Rob. 2
wins, guys, for Kyle Kirkwood here at Detroit. And as Michael Andretti said, this guy is already ready to go for the NTT IndyCar Series. Let's go back over to Joel Sebastianelli.
David Malukas entered this weekend as the points leader. 3rd place finish today. Sounds like you had the most interesting race of anybody out there today.
Yeah, well, I think most interesting by a sad story. I mean, I came into turn 4 and I saw something in the middle of the track. I was like, what is that? And it sadly chose the wrong way and walked into me. And I heard a thump, and I almost started crying for the rest of that lap. But yeah, I'm gonna say that was some bad luck there. I really didn't mean it, but yeah, it was very interesting. I mean, it kind of. The way it changed my focus, I was really focused like, oh, I got Linus. Oh, what's the gap? You know, I need to know his push to pass, and I had Toby behind me, and all of a sudden I hit this squirrel, and everything just changed. I kind of forgot what was going on, and I got really flustered. But yeah, I said my prayers that lap for the squirrel, and kept going, and I saw it chilling in the corner of turn 4. But
it's been a real fight from you guys since you unloaded. Are you pleased that you've been able to salvage what you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was really good. From going from race 1 to race 2, I mean, this track is really tough to pass, especially with these bumps, and the straights are just so short. But I think we did good to salvage what we had after my mistake in practice 1. The team put the car back together, and I kind of was, yeah, it was good.
Okay, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to speak for everyone at IndyCar Radio. We extend our condolences to the family of that squirrel. Gotta love street course racing, and gotta love the personality of David Malukas as he comes home in the 3rd position. Again, the podium today, Kirkwood, Lundqvist, and Malukas. Next up for Indy Lights, as I mentioned moments ago, off to Road America for a double-header weekend. Great job by Michael Young and Jake Query, Rob Howden and Joel Sebastianelli there in pit lane. Engineering from Rick Evans, producing on site in Indianapolis is Sam Rumsa, and the general manager Chris Pollock. For Davey Hamilton, I'm Nick Yeoman. Again, noon Eastern time, about a half hour from now, Mark Janes will have pre-race coverage for the race number 2 of the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix. Congratulations to Kyle Kirkwood sweeping the weekend here on IndyCar Radio from Detroit. So long for now.
Your uncle, I want you to know that on the road of life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
IndyCar the next couple of years. Malukas, 3rd spot today. Finishing in 2nd position from HMD Motorsports with Global Racing Group, just like Malukas, Linus Lundqvist. Finishing 2nd. Just 4 points separating the top 3 drivers in the championship as we head to Road America next weekend. Always good to see an American up on top of the podium, folks. A round of applause. Future star of NTT IndyCar Series Racing, the winner, Kyle Kirkwood. Kirkwood for Andretti Autosport, back-to-back wins. First driver we've had this year who did not start on the pole getting a victory, just 4 points separating 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And also the first time that we have had three drivers this close in the points, and the first time a double race winner on the season. Kirkwood sweeping the action here in Detroit. Of course, hats going on for all the shots here before we spray that champagne. Again, these are the drivers you're going to see. Indy Lights just one step away from IndyCar. This is the training ground. Junior A hockey, if you will. Triple A baseball. These are the drivers just one step away from the pro show, the big show. And you'll see some of these drivers here in Detroit in the main events in coming years. Again, tremendous job for Kyle Kirkwood. Started third, went to the lead early. Able to take the lead for Andretti Autosports. Let's get those Cooper Tire hats back on. Their first, second, and third place podium hats. And they're shot here with the beautiful trophies that they'll take home and put on to the management. Remember, these kids have all started in karting. They've got trophies from back when they were 5, 6, 7 years of age. But now they've got trophies from Detroit. Champagne gonna fly, folks, and away we go. They're going after Kirkwood. Tremendous job for our drivers today. Very hot on the racetrack. A little cooler than yesterday, but still unbelievably hot. Champagne stings the eyes, boys. That's the beauty, I think, of the fountain right now. Not only cooling them off, but also giving an opportunity to clean the eyes off. Are they going to the fountain? Should they go to the fountain? I think they go to the fountain. Kirkwood's in. Linus is like, come on with me, teammate. They're going into the fountain. I love it. Kirkwood got thrown in yesterday. Today, voluntarily going in. Nothing like a good dip in the fountain here at the Detroit Grand Prix. Awesome here at the Raceway at Belle Isle. Ladies and gentlemen, the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series, Kyle Kirkwood, Linus Lundqvist, and David Malukas.